let's start putting some radian measures on the unit circle. So before we've been dealing with degrees, and we always started with 0 degrees. We did one rotation. Remember, we moved counterclockwise in the positive direction, and we were at 360 degrees. Well, radians, we started 0 radians. And remember, the circumference of a circle is 2 pi. When we were dealing with degrees, we knew this was 180 degrees because, well, 360 divided by 2 is 180 degrees. So if one full rotation is 2 pi, half of 2 pi, half of a rotation is just pi. Now, we knew this is a 90-degree angle. Well, 90 degrees is 1/2 of 180 degrees. So now let's do this in radians. Half of pi, 1/2 pi, is pi over 2. Down here, this is 270 degrees because we had 180 degrees plus 90 degrees gave us 270 degrees. Let's do that in radians. Pi plus pi over 2, so that's 1 plus 1 pi plus 1/2 pi. Well, 1 plus 1/2 is 3/2. So this is 3 pi over 2. Okay, let's kick it up another notch. So, halfway between 0 and pi over 2. So that's halfway between 0 and 1/2. Well, that's 1/4. Now, on this unit circle, do you see how these lines go straight through? We're going to say pi over 4. Now, the measurement here, this is pi over 4. But now over here in quadrant 3, this measurement here is the reference angle, pi over 4. I can also tell too, if I cut this quadrant in half, likewise, if I cut the fourth quadrant 4 in half, okay, these are giving me reference angles of pi over 4. In degrees, 45 degrees. Now, we're going to derive this in the next example, but I'm going to go ahead. We're going to put it in right here. These are going to be your common angles that we're going to get really familiar with. So, right here, this is 60 degrees. 60 degrees is equivalent to pi over 3. And again, we're looking at reference angles. So this is a measurement of pi over 3, or 60 degrees. And now here, this is 30 degrees. 30 degrees in radians is pi over 6. So this is pi over 6, which also means here, because of my reference angles, 30 degrees, these are also pi over 6. Again, that is a reference angle. That is not the angle measurement there. We're going to be talking about that again real soon. But I wanted to put these common angles in colors so we can easily see them and go back to them. This one's a little, there we go. Okay. So again, this is pi over 6. This angle measurement is pi over 3. Now, in your book, it asks for the measurement of, it was 4 pi over 3, I believe. So, theta equals 4 pi over 3. Okay, easy way to do this. I'm going to go ahead and rewrite pi so I have a common denominator. If I'm looking for something with a 3 in the denominator, this is super simple. That means this is 3 pi over 3, right? Because 3 divided by 3 is 1. These would cancel out. These are equivalent. But because I have a common denominator, now it's going to make things super simple. So if I'm starting out at 0, I'm looking for 4 pi over 3. I'm coming around, well, that means pi is 3 pi over 3, so I am short pi over 3, which is a reference angle. So that means, boom, here it is. This angle measure here is going to be 4 pi over 3. If I am looking for, say I'm looking for, let's go backwards. Let's do 3 pi over 4. Okay, well, again, I always go to pi. Pi is easy to rewrite. 4 pi over 4. So again, if I'm looking for the angle 3 pi over 4, I start off at 0, and I come around, well, I go to 4 pi over 4. That's too far. I am pi over 4 too far. I need to kick it back pi over 4. That's my reference angle. So right here, this is 3 pi over 4. And again, remember, I'm talking the angle measure. Okay, we're going to start getting into doing a full-blown unit circle real soon, this week. Now, your triet, let me flip to that. I believe it was -5, but yep, -5 pi over 6. Okay, so your triet is a -5 pi over 6. Okay, again, I'm going back over here because this makes it super, super simple. So pi written with 6 in the denominator is 6 pi over 6. Okay, and notice this is negative, which means I'm going to go clockwise on the unit circle. So if I'm going this way, and I'm looking for 5 pi over 6 and -5 pi over 6, I come up here, I'm at 6 pi over 6, I've gone too far. I need to kick it backwards, pi over 6, which, check it out, right there. And I did everything in color too, and again, once you start doing these, you're going to start recognizing it. So my reference angle here is going to be pi over 6, which means that this measure here, going this way, is -5 pi over 6.